Kia ora everyone, welcome back to the channel and to our favourite video of the month in the colouring community, completed pages. I love completed pages. I love seeing everyone's monthly wrap up, and I am so excited to show you mine for the month of August 2024. We do have a lot of pages to get to. It was a really interesting month. I was very unwell for practically the whole month. And I was thinking that I wouldn't actually have a lot of pages to show you, but then when I actually started tallying through my list, turns out I have a lot more pages done this month than I realized, which I am very, very pleased to show you. Now, in my August plans video, I talked about my goal for the month, which was a month entirely focused on existing work in progress pages that I had started that have run out of time to complete, or pages that I had started and abandoned from many years ago. And so a big focus of my month was on the work in progresses. I started the month with 25 whips, and we are no longer at 25 whips, which is really cool to see. There's a couple other things that I did this month as well that we'll talk about at the end when we get to the overall stats. But for now, we will flip to the list and I will start going through the pages that I completed. So I very much recommend that you grab yourself a ginormous cup of tea or a drink and a snack, because I do have a tendency to ramble and these videos can be long, but also I know that we've got a lot of pages to go through this month, so it's going to be another one of those longer videos. The wind is howling. We have thunderstorms, we have lightning here in my town in Aotearoa, so I'm really hoping the power holds out and I can film this video without losing lights. Actually, that's probably not a good place to put it because we're going to knock it over there. Alright, let's get into it. So the first one I'll start with, and these are not in any particular order, they're just the order I'm taking them off my ginormous pile. But the first one we'll start with is this one, because it's still slightly tacky, so it still technically needs overnight to finish drying, because I literally just finished this one today. So this is from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly by Joanna Basford. This was a 2022 or older whip. I believe it was 2022 when I first started this one. I had coloured ivy and some of the flowers and stuff inside the center area, and then I think I'd done like these little flowers off to the side, and then since 2022 I'd come back in and picked at a couple of things, but I hadn't really sat down to finish the page. So that's what I did this month. It was just colouring in the areas around all this little scroll work and just finishing the rest of the page. Now you can see that I've also covered this entire page with a Mod Podge Sparkle, which is one of my favourite glitter mediums. And this is why it's still drying. And the reason why I did this was when I used the gold metallic gel pen to colour in all the stars, you can see up here in particular, the pen smudged. I'm well aware that this gel pen needs a moment to set. And I was trying to be so careful while applying it, and I applied it and I didn't smudge it at all. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Left it on my desk, went to go and get a cup so I could make myself a cup of tea, came back, went to move this off my desk, and just went in the process. And so this got smudged everywhere. Now, it was mostly dry, but there was enough there that, particularly up here, you can see it, these little areas where the yellow gold of the pen spread, and I was just like, oh no, what do I do now? And of course this is earlier today as well, so it's like, of course it's on the last day of the month. I really wanted to get this one finished and say that it was another one of the whips done. And so one of my rules is if in doubt, glitter it out. So that's what I did. I grabbed the Mod Podge sparkle and I just stippled it on top. I was just going to do in here. And then I was like, oh, and then I was going to try and keep to the pattern and maybe just do it around here. But the gold had spread up here and spread up here. I was like, you know what, we'll just cover the entire page with it. And then with the sparkly reflective, it'll hopefully tone down a little bit. As I applied the Mod Podge, it also picked up a little tint of the gold itself and kind of tinted the whole page. You can see the difference between the two. This Mod Podge had a slight yellow tint thanks to the metallic gold still being slightly damp and not quite set. So it helped pastelize the smudge that was there and also made it a little bit more cohesive and less noticeable. And I'm actually pretty pleased with that decision. I think it worked out well. The only thing that I've realized is I haven't actually applied any glitter in here. I've obviously missed this little section when applying the glitter. So I just need to go in here and just add a little bit in here for the little area I missed. But other than that, it is done. So, and as I said, it just needs a bit of time to finish curing because this does need some time to cure. But once it's set, it's like fully set and it's great to like actually protect your pages as well. So yeah, so that one is finally done. It's been a whip since 2021, so it's nice to have that one off the list. I'm just going to very carefully move this one to the side so it can continue on setting. Now we can move on to the next one. So the next one I have is in Gardens Gnome Special by Colouring Heaven. This has got designs by Ava Brown. This one was not originally on the plan this month, but I just wanted to pull out a simpler page and play with some alcohol markers. And this one had been an untouched book for me, so it's always nice when that happens. I didn't mark the page in this one for some reason. But we have this gnome with the cat here. And I love colouring a cat, so of course I'm going to be attracted to this page. This whole thing was done with alcohol markers, with just a little bit of stickles and Posca on the butterfly. I pulled out a black Posca just to go over the outline and define the edges a little bit, and then I added the stickles on top, just to add a little bit of sparkle to the butterfly. But all the shading was done in alcohol markers, just very cheap no-name brush markers that I have. Yeah, pretty straightforward, very simple coloring. I think I did this in the space of about an hour, but I really do like how it came together, and it was just what I needed at the time. Just a fun, quick little page, help break up some of the more detailed ones that I've been doing lately. So that is Colouring Heaven Garden Gnome Special with designs by Ava Brown. This one was an untouched one. Another untouched Colouring Heaven is the Stained Glass Flowers issue. I don't know if this one actually credits an artist. It just says Mindful and Relaxing Designs. So yeah, I don't see any accreditation to an artist, so I guess maybe not. Oh no, Dina Stone. There we go. Is the whole book Dina Stone? It does feel like, yeah, it's Dina Stone. Okay, there we go. But as you can see, I did this one here. And again, this is just another simple, mindless colouring. I just took a couple of colours of alcohol markers per section and coloured in each section. And I was trying to create sort of like, if you look at references of stained glass, there's variation in the colours, and they usually go darker to lighter, and then some areas have more of a stipple effect and some areas are more streaky. If I was to, I mean, I've got a whole book. I can do this again, but I think next time I would add in a third colour that brings in a lot more darkness. Because I feel like even though I have managed to pull in sort of like a medium and a light, we need a dark, especially with this white highlighting effect I tried to do as well. So if I had a dark and I just stippled some of that in, in the darker areas to give that sort of bumpy texture, that would also finish it off and help it read a little bit more. It's just a little too flat. The other option is I could pull out a black pencil to do that. But for a first attempt at playing with it and just sitting there mindlessly colouring this page, it was great. So this whole thing's been coloured with alcohol markers, just the cheap alcohol markers again. And then I did use a white Prismacolor just to add in some additional white highlighting. I went a bit heavy on the purple. The purple's not quite right, but it's okay. Again, this is me just experimenting with a technique and seeing if I liked it. And then you can see there's also some stickles on the flowers. And yeah, the flowers definitely are the area that needs more contrast. We need a much darker tone in there. It's also meant to be a blue, but it looks really teal like the stems. But again, things we learn. And for a first attempt at just playing around, I like it. So that's Colouring Heaven Collection, Stained Glass Flowers. Alright. Critical Role, The Mighty Nein Colouring Book. This one was a whip, and I'm very happy to have this one done. Especially because I think this might be one of my favourites of the month. I love how this one turned out. Come on, Amy, you mark the page to turn to it straight away, and then you don't turn to it. So, this one here is Caduceus in the Graveyard. And when I saw this page, I knew I wanted to colour it. I love Caduceus. I loved the design of this page. And so in my August plans video, I did explain about the background and the disaster I had in the background with Distress Ink. And not Distress Ink, sorry, Derwent Inktense. I always confuse those two. They're very different products, but I always name them wrong. Derwent Inktense pencils, and the background had not worked at all because this paper does not like water activated mediums like the Inktense pencils. It doesn't like them activated. So what I decided to do was pull out my Crayola Super Tips. I love working with Crayola Super Tips, and because this is such a detailed page with such fine areas, I knew that the markers would work really well because it wouldn't be as likely to go streaky because there's just so much to fill in on the page and lots of little areas. So apart from the green in the background, which I have worked over a few times with the Crayola Super Tips, originally that was a little bit of Inktense back there. And then Crayola Super Tips for all the colouring. I did pull out my Staedtler fine liners to also add additional shading in a really, really fine way. So like some of the really thin branches back here are done with fine liners. Couple of the creases I defined by using the fine liners, little bits and pieces like that. And then I also pulled out some Posca paint pens to do the white edges of the clothes and like highlighter lines on the tea fumes, stuff like that. So just little details. And then, yeah, I don't believe I did not add in any stickles. I did just debate if this page needed glitter, but I decided I was actually really happy with it as is. Yeah, I am very, very pleased to not only have this whip done, but to have a technique that works so well and like knowing I can do that again in this book. There are quite a few pages like this one here where it's so detailed that pulling out the Crayola Super Tips is going to be achievable on this sort of one. Some of them are a bit more simpler. This is a collection of artists, but so this one here, I could see doing this one in Super Tips. So yeah, but that is the Mighty Nein colouring book from Critical Role, and that was my first page in there too. Alright, Colouring Heaven Collection Flower Girls. Now this is one of my disaster whips. If I remember, I'll try to get like stills of how they started the month from the August plans video. I didn't take photos of some of these, I should have. like the previous stage, but also you can just watch the August plans video to see like how much have been worked. This one in particular, well, we got it done. That's what we're saying. So originally I had done the hair purple. I loved the hair. The hair was great. I was happy with the hair. I was happy with the progress of the hair. I had some issues with the skin because when I started this page, I used some water-soluble pencils to help base this out, and it just went really splotchy. The paper was not happy with it. I'd used a couple of different things to try and help smooth out my shading, and it was not working. It looked patchy and streaky, and so it had been shoved to the side, especially after the paper started ripping in here. So what I ended up doing to fix it was I took it out, obviously. I used alcohol markers and I pulled out a clear and then a really, really light brown, and I worked that over the skin because originally there had been some polychromos shading on the skin. So I worked the pencil over. It's still a little streaky, but I worked it over to help smooth out and also melt the polychromos that was there and just try and clean up some of that streakiness that was there. And then I came back in with my polychromos pencils to redefine the shading and help balance it out a bit. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. It's still very streaky, but it was the best that I could do with the situation without completely destroying the paper and the page. Originally, the top and the bad orchid leaf up flower up here were yellow and green. However, I had since basing it with alcohol marker looked up what a back orchid colors were, which was this beautiful red purple, and I knew I wanted to change it. And so I worked over the top a bit and I tried to tone it down to a more neutral red brown. It does look a bit more orange than I intended because of the fact it's got the yellow base tone. But apart from going really, really dark for it, it's just like, you know what, it's just the bottom of the top. It's just at the bottom of the page. It's fine. We'll leave that. And then for up here, I worked over it a few times with browns and blacks, and it was getting to the point again where the paper would not take it all. And I knew I couldn't do any more layers. So rather than try and specifically shade it out, I just grabbed a dark alcohol marker, worked that over top, picked out a couple of details, and then pulled out a gold metallic paint pen that I have to do all the little hanging bits that came off it and add in all the details in there. And I did that so I could also specifically add in one here to cover up the area of her face where it had been ripped and the paper had been damaged. And when I had done that, it really clearly just looked like paint pen on top. Like you can kind of see it there. And again, if in doubt, glitter it out. So I just grabbed some purple Stickles glitter. I believe it's called Mermaid's Tail. It's like a pink, purple, and orange reflect glitter. I grabbed that and I just added that all over the flower and also all over her lips. And I like it way better since I glittered it. It's always the way. As soon as I glitter something, I feel much happier with it. So yeah, it's not perfect. It's not my best work in the world. But considering where we started with this page and how much of a write-off it was, I'm happy to get it to this point and call it done. It's not my best work, but it's done. And I feel pleased that we managed to save it to the point that I saved it to. That is Bat Orchid Girl by Anastasia Koldareva. It is from Colouring Heaven Collection Flower Girls. Another Colouring Heaven is Colouring Heaven Collection Ancient Egypt. And I've just remembered there was something else I was meant to do in here. I'll do this after I record the video. So we have this page here, which is Cleopatra and Antony. And I had originally used some really terrible cheap pencils that were scratchy and didn't quite work here. And so I erased it as best that I could. I used alcohol marker to base everything, plus help smooth what pencil was left. And then I worked over this with Prismacolors to the best of my ability to fix all of it up. I also watered down some acrylic paint for the background. I really didn't want your focus here. I did like the hieroglyphics and the poles are there, but I really didn't want your focus drawn there. I want it focused on these two. Now, the technique of erasing and covering up worked pretty well for Cleopatra's skin, but the dress was not having it. So I used a iridescent gold metallic sheen topper that I have on her dress and just help cover that up a little bit so it's got the light reflect. Worked brilliantly for his clothes. Like, I love the richness of this purple and the pop of the red for the curtains. And then, as you can see, all the jewelry, apart from the bracelet, which I forgot to come back and do because I had to do this in sections, I will do that after I've recorded this. I'll quickly go in there and add the little bit of foil to this, because this is all done with a metallic flake thing that I have. So it's a mixture of silver and gold, and I literally just use Mod Podge, put down a layer, stick the foil on top, let it dry, and then come in with a brush and scrape away the excess. And I really, really like how super shiny and metallic the jewelry is. We lost a little bit of the detail of the jewelry, but honestly, I just love the sparkle of it, the rich gold with the touches of silver. So yeah, I do have to go back in and actually do this bangle here that I apparently forgot to do when I was doing it bit by bit. So I'll just finish it up after completed pages after I finish this recording. But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with the overall result of this page and the shimmery gold metallic. And this was previously untouched, so it's nice to have a page done in Colouring Heaven Collection Ancient Egypt by Fabiana Chidi. I'll just leave that one to the side, so I know I've just got to go in there quickly finish that last little bracelet I forgot. Right, another Colouring Heaven, but this one is a digital Colouring Heaven that I printed off, is the Little Mermaid Special. I think the title's there, yeah. The Little Mermaid Special, again by Fabiana Chidi. I love how much of her work they use because I love her eye style. And so I did this one here. So this was also another whip that I finished off. I started this last month when I just had some leftover ink after a page. And I was just playing around with the ink and I just did all the background. I brought some of the ink onto her. I was playing with how much depth I could get from this one color of ink. And so finished it up, let the ink dry, and then after it was all done, I came in with my polychromos pencils to see what I could bring forward, what I could leave recessed in the background. I really love the depth and the almost water-like reflective pattern that I've managed to pull off on all the stone pieces here. One of my favorite things about the page is how all the stonework came together. I also really love the blue glow on her skin and the effect that I got on her skin. So very, very pleased with that. As well as the polychromos, I also used some metallic gel pens to colour in part of her actual outfit, as well as some Poscas to pull out little highlights on her. And then I also used Kaisercraft shimmer spray to do all the splatter effects on here. I used some actual 3D sparkly stickers as part of her jewellery. Looks like that one's actually moved down a bit since I did it, which is fine. We're just going to go and shove that back into place. Boom, done. And I don't think I used any stickers because I used the stickers and the metallic gel pens. Yeah. I think that was about it. So yeah, I really like, again, it's one of those messier sort of pages and it definitely needs to be framed up. If I put like a black washi tape or clean out these edges, maybe even trim the page. If these edges were trimmed up and you had that cleaner edge, this would look even more effective. But I really do like how it came together. I love the little 3D elements of the page. I quite like adding something 3D to a page. I need to use more like stickers and gems and crystals and stuff because it's quite fun. And again, that was an untouched book, so it's nice to have a page done in the Little Mermaid special by Colouring Heaven. The Barbie Ultimate Colouring Book. I have quite a few kids' books. I find them really fun for sort of mindless colouring. And that's what this one was. It was a whip. I had started this one off last month. I had based all the friends as if they were each a different colour of the rainbow, and then started shading them with pencils. I had originally used my Faber-Castell black editions to shade, and then I just run out of time and energy to finish shading it. So this month I went in there, I finished shading it. I did end up pulling in some Polychromos and Prismacolor pencils just to finish off all the shading, give me some more tones and range of colors. I didn't do a background and I didn't add any stickers, but that's okay. It was just it wasn't actually long to finish off either. It was pretty close to being done. So I'm pretty pleased with how it all came together. Just cute rainbow fun. Sometimes it's good to just have a kid's book for simple kids colouring. So that is the Barbie Ultimate Colouring Book. It's going to be one of those recordings where my throat hurts so much by the end of this. Believe in Magic. This is illustrated by Claire Scully. This is one of my older colouring books, and this was one of my older whips. I marked it down as 2022, but I have a feeling it was 2021 when I started this one. And this is where we ended up at. Again, we got a bunch of glitter. So originally I had coloured in these two golden orbs, and then I had coloured in the face and the hair, and I had used pencil in the middle, and then I had outlined each section with a water-soluble felt tip. And that was about all we had done, plus some work on the leaves down here. So in order to sort of hide that outlining I had done with the pencil, I actually just used a fine brush with water and basically activated the water-soluble marker that was there and dragged it down and kind of used it a little bit like watercolor, and then went in there with some additional pencil to sort of darken areas and just try and blend out the outline that I had done on her face. It's not perfect, but I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. And then I used my ink tints to create this sort of a galaxy dress. That was the sort of vibes I was going for, because I wanted it to look like her dress was flying out and creating the galaxy of the world. I don't know how effective it was. I then also used a bunch of metallic and glitter gel pens to colour in the leaves and the pomegranates, and finish off this moon in the same gold as the other two orbs, which I recoloured over to make sure they match the same gold. The framework, all done in metallic gel pens. The poles are just the ink tints. I didn't even shade them any further. I just used the ink tints. It's just, I don't know, I was just happy with it as there. I think I also really didn't want to colour all the little bits on these poles. But your focus should be on here. So, and then of course I topped it with Mod Podge Sparkle, so it's also all sparkly, because again I was thinking galaxy and sky. Is it my favourite thing in the world? No. But the page is done, and considering how long this has been sitting here as a whip, I'm just glad to have the page done. And there were quite a few books like this where the page in there didn't excite me. It was something that I had started so long ago and abandoned for so long that it was a slog to get back to it. So some of these pages, it was more about just pushing through to get the page done. And it may not be my best work or the most inspired work, but the page is done. And I feel a lot better having lifted the weight of my whips and getting that page done. So it's not something that you personally need to do, but for me, it was something I wanted to do for my collection. So again, it's not my favorite ever page. I still like it, but I know I could do better, but I'm also just happy to have that page done, which means now when I approach this book, because that one's done, I can actually look at other pages in here and approach an actual page I want to do, like the stag, which I've always thought is gorgeous. Or this one at the back with all the star signs. I can do that now because that page has been worked and it has freed up this book. We have Fairy Celebrations by Klara Markova, and I finished off my whip in here. It was a double whip. Double page whip, which is actually the cover image. I was inspired a little bit by the cover image, and so I took that inspiration to finish off the page. Now, when I continue shading it, I used Inktense and I built up more layers of Inktense, kind of to build up a more vibrant tone, and it worked really well for the house. Like, I love the intensity I've got with the house and the branch and all the critters around here. I just wish I'd gone back and done another layer on the background because the background's so splotchy. And it was actually the same mistake that I made on the previous page where I didn't go back and add another layer onto the background. So yeah, it's just something I've got to keep in mind. But I still, again, like the page. I just think if I had darkened this value, this would pop even more. There's just things on reflection of I should have done that darker, but it's done now. I'm not going back over it, and it's just something I'm going to have to note for future. So yes, this whole thing's been done with Inktense pencils. And then I added in some gold Posca details around for all the little dots. And then this is all Posca, all the little dots in here. There is some glossy accents on the windows, plus on the little heart over here. There's some stickles up here on the wings. And over here, I love stickles. And I think that's everything I used on the page. Yeah, I'm really glad to have this one done, especially because this is such a good book to work on bed with. So nice to have a page done in Fairy Celebrations by Klara Markova. "30 Days of Creativity by Joanna Basford." So this one here is a bit of a project book for me. I'm using scrapbooking and art journaling techniques to fill in the book and just approach pages a little differently. It's been a really fun challenge. I've got to go in and actually finish coloring this in too. But I ended up doing 2 pages in here because I did this tea spread or teacup spread. And yeah, this was mostly successful. I'm still pretty pleased with it. I experimented a little bit with it. So for this page here, where we had all the different little teapots, I photocopied the page and then I spelt a bunch of tea over it. I actually did this on 3 pages, and this is the one I liked the most. And then once the tea had dried, I used a Staedtler fine liner and I decided to mark out all the different types of splatter. On reflection, I should have just gone around the edge and just left this without all the line work in there. But I've done it now, so it's fine. And then anywhere where there was the white, I coloured it in. So we've got a little pop up there, and then we've got down here. This has all been done with the Staedtler fine liners again. Just really simple flat shading, but I just wanted to experiment with the tea. I never did the tea craze when that was a thing where people like splattered tea on the page and just coloured in the splatter or coloured around the splatter. I'd never done it, so I just thought I'd try it. It's okay. It's not my favourite thing in the world, but I did it. And then this one here, I this page originally came with these cup designs in place. So again, while I photocopied this one, I also photocopied this one. And I used the photocopy to make a stencil pattern for each of the different cups so that I could use different scrapbooking papers to become each of the cups. And then I drew all these little different critters. It's based on a little stamp set that I have. So I used that for inspiration and drew the critters and changed up how the stamp set has them to make my own little friends and pair them up in different ways. And I drew that on a little piece of card, cut them out, colored them in, and then stuck them into the book. And then because this is all essentially card that I cut, it was slightly thick and I lost some of the line work that Joanna had drawn. So I decided to come in with the brown fine liner, the same brown that I'd used from over here, to outline and just sort of cover up the edges of the cardboard and just clean it up. Now my hands weren't the best when I did this, so it looks a little splotchy in some areas, but overall I think it turned out well. I really like how we've got all the little animal friends just like getting into mischief and doing lots of different things. I just think it's really cute. I also used some stickles to add to the page. It did actually make the Stadlers bleed a little bit, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then to make sure this whole page stuck down and everything fused together properly, I also used Mod Podge matte over the whole page, just to make sure it's well and truly stuck down. So this is another good solid page in this book. This book is going to be so chunky by the time it's done. But yeah, it's another 2 pages done in 30 days of creativity. And then the next one that we're up to is this candy shop one, which I don't actually know what I'm going to do here. So I'm still going to figure that one out. I'll have to go and look in my collection to see if I have a bunch of candies or I know, something. I'll figure out something for this page. But yeah, that was just a fun little spread in 30 days of creativity. This one was not on the plans for this month, but we did end up doing a page in A Million Baby Animals. And this one had been previously untouched, so always love when I get to work an untouched book. And I did this one here. I probably should have done a background, but I was just so happy with how this one turned out that I really didn't want to do more. It's very autumnal colors for me. I usually do very bright, very colorful, very rainbow, but it's so autumnal and pastel. It's not how I normally color, but I really like it. I really like how it turned out. I especially really love the fox with the idea of like a little yellow and green headband and a brown cardigan. Like, I can see actually like that working really cutely. So, I don't know, something about it just really amused me. And this whole thing has been done in polychromos pencils with a little bit of stickles for the center of the flowers. So, yeah, that was just one night. Couldn't quite sleep. Got up. Did it in a night. I love when that happens. And I didn't actually say this is Lulu Mayo, A Million Baby Animals. Mine Ritter Europa. I am probably mispronouncing that, so hopefully not too badly. But as you can see by the tabs, we have 2 pages in here. Both of these were whips. It's nice to get them done. So we have this cat painting page. At least that's what I called it. I love how this one turned out. So I had started with the cat and the oranges coloured on the tree, and that was about it. And I'd used a little bit of polychromos pencils for that. So I continued using the polychromos pencils to shade in the leaves and the rest of the tree, the flowers, the grass, and the easel, but not the picture itself. And then I used ink tints in the background to produce this rainbow. I don't know what I was thinking with this background, but I was just like, rainbows. I want a rainbow. But I love how it turned out. I don't know why we've got two light sources. Don't ask me about why I did the background. I just went rainbow. And then I pulled out Poscas for all the like dots and some highlighting and marks on the grass. Also to go over the butterfly, which I also added stickles to. And then for this actual painting on the actual canvas, it's meant to be this page here. And I thought about sitting there and properly colouring it in with pencils and then writing down the colours so I could use the same colours over here. But I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to use the exact same colours or I wanted to have options. And so I thought, you know what I'm going to do instead is just do it real watercolory. And then it's like, maybe the right vibe of the town hasn't been captured. I can follow this colour scheme. And if I don't have the exact colours, it doesn't matter. So what I did is I used my Derwent Inktense pencil in white. I don't normally use that pencil a lot, but it's really good because if you want to cover up a bit of lines but still see line work, because it has some opacity to it, but it's not fully opaque like acrylic paint. So I added a really thick layer of that and activated it to tone down the black lines. And then I pulled out the different colors. And actually the original colors of the Inktense are here on the palette. Each of these are colors that I use from the Inktense range. And I would pull that color directly off the pencil, color in a splot on here, and then pull it onto here and mix it with the white to create like a more pastelized tone and help keep covering those lines. So it's like the picture's there, but it's not as intense as these ones here. I can use this color scheme to color in the town, and even if the colors aren't exact, it can still match, or I could just change my mind altogether. So yeah, I don't know, it worked in my brain, and I really, really like how this one turned out. So I'm very pleased with it. It's such a cute book. I love these Rita Berman books. I would love to get the earlier ones, especially the Under the Sea one in Africa. We're also talking in a live stream about if she did another book, it would be amazing if there was My Journey Through Oceania. So that there would be like Australia, New Zealand, some of the islands. Like it could be a really good theme, My Journey Through Oceania. And I would be very happy because it's very hard to find New Zealand colouring books. And then this is the other page that I did. I did not realize how much work goes into a page like this. They're like, oh, it's just small, simple little designs. It's essentially 9 pages in one. So this one did take me quite a while to do. But I really love how it turned out. Now it's all done with all the different colors and stuff. I'm very happy with this one. So this one uses a mixture of Polychromos pencils, Prismacolor pencils, Pablo pencils, Faber-Castell classic color pastel pencils, Faber-Castell black pencils. There is potentially other pencils in there. There are some Posca paint pens. There is glitter gel pens, metallic gel pens. There is stickles. I think that's everything. There's a lot. It was just basically us working a section at a time, just work a little bit and go, cool, I want orange there. What's my closest orange? Yeah. And yeah, I don't know, I'm really happy with this one. I'm just all together with everything complete together. It just works, you know? As much work as it was. Those are the 2 pages I did in Mythographic Ritter Europa. They were both whips that I got done. Another little book we have is Furballs by Diane Dufour. And we have what I called a Leggy Picnic, which is this one here. So this one, there wasn't really a lot of work to go in it because I had already done the socks. I'd also used a grey Polychromos pencil and added in all the shading on all the elements. I don't know why I started with that first, but I had done it. So it was just adding the colour. And originally I thought about using washi tape to fill in all the little squares. I don't have a sharp blade at the moment, and I wasn't going to be able to get one. And so I just decided, you know what? Let's just do rainbow. Let's just do ink tints. I was very much enjoying playing with my ink tints at the time. So I just pulled out ink tints and basically filled in the squares. I really like how bright and vibrant it turned out. And there's a little bit of shimmer on the socks because I did add the iridescent medium to the socks. So yeah, just a simple little page, but I really like how it came together. Having a vibe of the picnic on a blankie with some chocolate, apples, and a little tablet and cuddling up with your cat, like that just seems like a day. I really like it. So that was my whip that I completed in Furballs. This is why you need a cup of tea while filming this. I knew I'd need one. It's a lot of work. A lot of talking. Garden of Fairytale Animals. This is by Conical Agusa. I forgot to mark this page. That's okay. I finally completed this one. This is one of my first ones of the month I completed. And I'm so happy to have this one completed. I love how it turned out. So this whole spread was done with Crayola Super Tips. I also used a bunch of the Crayola Colors of the World set to help with the brickwork to give us a variety of reds and browns in different tones. There is the slightest touch of Posca to highlight the glass at the glass highlights. And yeah, it is a combination of where I will take the super tip and color on a non-porous surface and then pick it up with a brush and a little bit of water and turn it into almost like a watercolor. And then I also ended up coloring directly on the page for some areas too. So it's a combination of the two techniques together, which I really like how it works. You can get that sort of faded out watercolor effect, but you can still build up really intense colors. Vibrant, and it just makes me happy. I love the duckies. So yeah, I love how this page came together. It was actually my first page in this book, so, or 2 pages because it's a double page read. So yeah, that was Garden of Fairytale Animals by Kanako Agusa. Just, oh, love it. I love her work. The Magical City by Lizzie Mary Cullen. This one was not on the plan for this month, but it happened, and I love it. So I was playing around with ink tints, and I just wanted to keep on playing with ink tints. I was having a lot of fun with ink tints this month, and I hadn't worked in this book, and I'd seen the tutorials. I know a lot of people talk about the tutorials of Peter Hewitt. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Gorgeous work. They're quite old tutorials now, but I just was like, you know what? I want to color in one of these pages. I want to keep playing with ink tints. I don't know how to approach this book. So I actually followed a color along, and I don't often follow along color alongs. It's not something that I often do, but I did for this page, and I'm really glad I did because I had so much fun just figuring out new combos for ink tints. Peter Hewitt uses them in a really interesting way, but also how to work a page like this. And it made me a lot more confident in actually tackling more of the pages in the Magical City. And I really, really loved how this turned out. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And I enjoyed it so much that I ended up buying the, I think it's called The Magical Christmas. It's Lizzie's Christmas book. I brought it because there is a page that is literally New Zealand, and it's a New Zealand Christmas themed page. So I brought the whole book because it has that page in there. But there's also a lot of really other gorgeous pages in there. So that's still coming. And yeah, I really want to do some more in here as well because it was just so fun and so chill. And it's just so neat to play with the ink tints. So I'll make sure I link Peter Hewitt down below. If I can find the actual, it shouldn't be hard to find. It's a pretty popular one of the color alongs, but I'll try to remember to link to the actual color along. If you have this book and want to follow along with it, it's an excellent video and I fully recommend you check it out. And if you're not confident about using ink tints, really good way to learn about using ink tints, blending the colors. Yeah, I got some really excellent color blends from this too, which is also really neat. So yeah, really neat page, really neat book, really neat color along. Just a good time all around. The Magical City by Lizzie Mary Cullen. Mythographic Aviary by Joseph Kettenbang. This is actually my very first page of the month that I completed. And it was a whip, so it was nice to get this one done in an untouched book as well. And that is this Forest Nymph page. So I used Distress inks for the background, which I activated by spritzing some water on there. And then I used my ink tints again to color the page. I love using ink tints in Mythographics books. They just work like a dream. And because the Distress ink is water activated, when I was using the ink tints pencils, it was actually mixing up and toning with the color that I had done in the background, which I thought was a really interesting effect. Like the browns up here have a lot more red in them than the browns down here, which have a lot more green in them. And so that was a really fun effect to play with and something that I kind of want to trial a bit more to see how that works together. So yeah, I colored the whole thing with ink tints pencils. I did pull out a little bit of gold Posca for the center of the flowers. And then I just decided I wanted a bunch more splatter on there. So I also pulled out Kaisercraft Shimmer Spray and just added some gold iridescent splots on there. And again, I do need to actually go around and like frame this properly, just using like a matte black, because it really makes the image pop and feel a lot more finished. But I don't always get around to that. I don't count that as like needing to be done to consider the page done. It's just a presentation thing. So I'll get there eventually and also paint around the frame and just frame it up so it looks a little bit cleaner. But I didn't get there this month to do that. That is Mythographic Aviary by Joseph Kettenbang. My first page in Aviary. The Dungeons and Dragons coloring book. So this one was another disaster whip. And originally, I'll try to grab a still because it was bad. The paper in this book is another paper that does not like when I activate the ink tints with water. Now, I could possibly try with alcohol markers, but I have tried alcohol markers on this paper in another book before, and it also wasn't a fan of that. So, definitely prefers drier mediums. When I tried the ink tints, it was just horrendous. I put the thing on the shelf, and I was like, I'll get back to this eventually. You can see some of the splots and the bleed through from the ink tints. When I activated it, it was like the ink just went into the page and did not move. There was no blendability of it. It just splotted, essentially. So it was streaky and horrible, and I hated it. I put it on the shelf, but this was the month we tackled it. And my God, am I glad that I tackled it, because I think this may be one of my favorite pages of the month, if not the year. I love how this turned out so much. So if you are not aware of Dungeons and Dragons and their supplemental guides, this image here is Tasha, and the actual image is on a book from the D&D world, which I happen to have here, called Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which, by the way, is an excellent D&D module book. It's not a module, it's just got a lot of really good useful information in here. So yeah, I'm a big D&D player. I'm a DM, so I have quite a few of the books, including Tasha's. And so when I saw this image in the D&D coloring book, I knew I wanted to follow the actual cover of the book because I love this this image here. I love the combination of the blue, the brown, and the yellow. It is such a striking palette. It's a very limited palette, but I also love the way the light went on here. So I very much use this as my inspiration for the page. My blue is a little bit brighter. My orange is not as orange, but I love it. I love it. I love playing with lighting effects. So having a page like this where you've got a candle, a light source here, and then the magic light sources was just so fun for me. I love lighting. And then backlit as well from up the top here. I did not do the dome. The dome was not drawn in, and I did not draw the dome in there. I just wanted to have like a top glow effect. So yeah, originally it was based with the Inktense, but as I said, the Inktense was a disaster and it really didn't build anything on this page because of how splotchy and scratchy it was. Instead, this whole thing has been done with Prismacolor, which have absolutely been burnished to the life of them as well. So this is why I'm holding it at an angle to stop the shine. So yeah, Prismacolor, which I chose because they're opaque, but also because of their creaminess, because I knew I would be blending a lot of really odd combos, like a lot of blue and brown and orange in one area. So it really helped with the blendability of that. And then I also used Posca to highlight and cover up some edges. Like, for example, the top of this book here had a really big, thick black line that kind of threw the fact that this is meant to be a bright light source here, throw it out. So I used that to help cover up some of the lines that I wanted to cover up, and then just add in a bunch of dots for the magic effect. And I did also add stickles as well, because if it hasn't got glitter, is it even magic? So not the candles, but the cauldron and the magic from the book in her hands has glitter on it as well. And yeah, as I said, I freaking love how this one turned out. I'm so glad that I pushed myself to get this one done and fix up this page, because I did not want to write this book off. And again, this is definitely one of my favorites of the month, if not the year so far. So that is the Dungeons and Dragons coloring book. It is an official Wizards of the Coast item. It's produced by 10 Speed Press, and I don't know who the specific artist is for that page. This one is a bit of a collection of artists. I think it does say, there we go, yeah, at the back here. So we've got a few different artists that have done the book. So yeah. Alien Worlds. Oh, Alien Worlds. Who's excited for Space Timber? Who's excited? I know there's going to be a lot of people doing work in Alien Worlds, especially in the Alien Worlds group that I'm a part of. I am a part of the Alien World Data Explorers that has been created by Happy Catastrophe. It is such a fun group. And I managed to do one of my whips in here, which was the final page of the Lost Paradise. Completing this page also completed the entirety of Lost Paradise for me. So very, very pleased to have this one done. It was a lot. This is a busy double page spread. There is a lot of little items on here. I really love how my spaceship turned out as well. So my spaceship, which is called the Galactic Glitter Puff, it is a white spaceship. And the point of it being white is so that when it arrives in a planet, being shiny white, it's going to pick up all the colors of the planet around it. And I wanted to do that so that essentially it's almost like my ship is rainbow, because it changes color all the time. So that is why both my Explorer and my spaceship are white. I was thinking about actually writing Galactic Glitter Puff somewhere on the spaceship. I know a few people who have done that, and I really like that. So I might at some point really, really carefully write Galactic Glitter Puff in here. But at the time of doing this, my hands were not at a point that I knew I could do that clearly. So I haven't done that yet, but I might do that in future. So yeah, this whole spread has been based with Inktense pencils, Polychromos pencils on top, Poscas to help with the outlines, a little bit of stickles in the skyline, and that's it. It's my regular combo. Inktense, polys, Posca, stickles. And yeah, I am just so pleased to finally have the Lost Paradise done. I've also fully completed the Air Kingdom. I did this one before I joined the Alien Worlds group. I do have to go in and add some iridescent shimmer around this one because when my spaceship flies, it does have like zoomy glitters. So I do have to go and add the zoomy glitters to that page. But that is both the Lost Paradise and the Floating Kingdom done. So now I do want to go back and get some more done at the start here eventually. But yeah, very, very pleased with that one. Worlds Within Worlds. I finally finished off the whip in here. This one has been another long-term whip. This is by, did I say these were by Kirby Roseanne's? I get, when it comes to Kirby, I'm so like, it's a Kirby book, and I never just say it's Kirby because I just kind of expect it's like, it's Kirby, you'll know, but not everyone knows that these are by Kirby Roseanne's. I shouldn't presume that just because I love Kirby and I have so much of his books and I do a lot of work in his books, doesn't mean I should presume everyone else does. So sorry about that. So this is Worlds Within Worlds by Kirby Roseanne's, and this is the Dollhouse page. So donkeys years ago, 2021, 2022, I had started the green and the pink room up here. And I had started down here. I had coloured in the unicorn white. We've got these little touches of blue. And then up here I'd started with like green skin and then like a little bit of pink dress. And that was about all I had done. And so when it came to this page, there wasn't a lot done. And I didn't really know where I was going to go with it, but I decided that I would colour each room as if it was just themed around a colour. I really like the idea of just doing essentially a rainbow house. And so I changed the unicorn to green, added more green to the water, added more pink to the witches that I'd already done, coloured the room pink. And then I realised that I could essentially do a rainbow order because the green, teal, by adding in teal and adding in like an indigo, pink, purple. So green, teal, blue, purple, indigo, pink, red, orange, yellow. So it's like dun, dun, dun. Meant that we had rainbow orders to the room, which I was really happy with. So that just worked out by accident that I managed to get away with doing that. So yeah, I coloured this entire thing in. Now this one was also a buddy with Winter 89s and Hannah Renee. Winter had put up their August plan videos and had mentioned about working on this page here, which I messaged them to be like, hey, I'm also working on that page, so let's buddy up to get it done. And then Hannah Renee saw my August plans video and messaged me about buddying in it. So I brought us all together in a group so that we could all work on it together. Now, at this stage, at the time of recording, it is like 11 p.m. on the 31st of August here in New Zealand. I know Winter is not going to be able to complete theirs by the end of the month. They've already put up their completed pages for the month and stated in there they're not going to be able to complete it. And I have not heard from Hannah Renee if they have completed their page. So, unfortunately, I think they have not completed theirs. So, yeah, a bit of a shame, but hopefully even getting a bit of work done in there will be enough to carry on and inspire them to finish the page eventually. But it is, because we were buddying up, we had a little chat and I was showing progress of this, and Winter, I think, said it looks like sort of like a disco party house. Like each of the rooms has got like a gel light filter and it's like a rainbow party house, which I loved the idea of. And then once it was done, it was time to do the background. It's like, I don't know what to do for the background. Do I do like clouds? Do I put it on a shelf? Do I do this? Do I do this? And it was kind of just suggested, you know, just plain black. It just, like, there's so much color on the page. And I was like, yeah, and then I can do, like, black glitter as well. So glitter, like it's party lights. So yeah, the background's very, very simple. It's just a black acrylic paint topped with Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, which is very similar to the Mod Podge Sparkle. It's that one here. They're basically identical. They're just very beautiful sparkly glitters. And so yeah, I really like it. It does look like a rainbow party house. It's really fun to have all the rooms themed around a colour. And the actual colouring was done entirely in Prismacolor. I used a lot of Prismacolor this month. I don't normally use as much as I did this month. But apparently it was a Prismacolor month. That's Worlds Within Worlds by Kirby Rosans. And then the last book I have is Mythomorphia, also by Kirby Rosans. Look how chunky this boy's getting. And as you can tell by the pink tags, I completed 3 pages in here this month. Oh, still such a good month to get in here. So 2 of these were buddies, and they were both with Cindy of Mindful Grip. So I'll show you the non-buddy first, which is this one here. Let me just remove my tags. I also, these little post-it tags, I pile them up and save them so that I can reuse them, because they're still sticky, so they can be reused a couple of times. So this one here was the whip, one of the whips in here that I completed, which is a Kitsune page. Once again, this was entirely done in Derwent Inktense. I did not even pull out pencils to go on top of this. I did this entirely with Inktense, and I am actually really pleased with how it came out. I did add in Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, because of course it's me. I love adding glitter, especially disguise and stuff. I could have gone in here with Posca and actually like gone over the clouds and made the clouds a bit lighter, but I was just genuinely really happy with it. I liked how it ended up. I liked my pink Kitsune with the red clouds and the sunset. I was just happy with it. So yeah, and it's nice to get that whip done and also get another spread done in here. It was so close. I think I'm down to 15. I think it's 15. I'll have to count my list again. But yeah, so that is Kitsune done. A big double page spread. And then, oh, I guess we're doing this one first. Put the tissue back, Amy. So the first buddy with Cindy, this is going to look really blown out compared to my picture, though my picture also was really, really dark. But the Echidna. And so this one is based in Inktense, and then I used Prismacolor pencils on top. I added Posca to do the outline glow. I also went a little hard on the Posca on her details, but that's okay. And then stickles, of course, for her jewelry. And I will make sure I put up Cindy's gorgeous page here. I love the color scheme Cindy chose. It's just like such an interesting color palette, especially because with mine it was very much like I looked at this page and I knew I wanted to have the backlit out of the cave, but I didn't really know what else to do. So I started this page with no plan. I colored in the yellow, and then I was like, cool, okay, stones, let's do the stones brown. So I colored the stones brown, and then I was like, well, I guess green goes with it. So I did green. It was like, I don't really want to introduce a new color, so let's just do yellow for the belly of the snake too. So it's very harmonious. It's very, like, it ties together well, but it's also not overly inventive. And it doesn't mean that on every page I need to, you know, rewrite the book in color palettes. But also look at this, I'm like, cool, it's a green snake, you know? But the page is done. I'm happy with it. I love the way the rocks turned out. It's a page done. Not every page is going to be your favorite. That was never one of my favorites in the book. I always knew that was going to be one of my challenge pages to get done, and it's done. So that's the main thing. A page, however, I do really like in here is the other buddy color that is in here with Cindy, which is a whip that is finally done. And this one's going to look really blown out here for a moment. And that is the Ashbladone. I think that's how it's pronounced. Oh, yeah, this one is quite difficult to not get the light. I know. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that without some sort of glare or some sort of highlighting. Okay. So this one is a mixture of Polychromos and Caran d'Ache Pablo pencils. I think there might even be some Prismacolor in there as well. Inktense, Posca stickles for the moon, and I think that's about it. And so I really loved like what I did down here with the little fishies and just getting little highlights. It also, because the back of this page has been heavily glittered, I knew down here would have a lot of texture and a lot of spots. So I figured it would work to just add like extra bubbles and texture under the water. So I really do like how that turned out, even though it's not smooth because of the glitter. It was never going to be smoothish. But I did the best that I could. It feels like there's actually kind of like a wax bloom on here that I need to like find a way to, yeah, I need to seal it. But the black just looks like really blowing out on here. It was so hard to photograph this one. But yeah, then I drew in all these torches for the back of the turtle and used a Posca to make the center of them really, really bright and added in the highlights because I really wanted the contrast of the bright lights to the dark. God, this one also, yeah, this one was like an absolute nightmare to record, and it feels like it's actually got almost like a wax bloom or a film over there. I've really got to spray it or something. It's really picking up on camera. In real life, it's not as bad, but it is bad. It could also be the time of night I'm filming this. But yeah, instead of talking about that, let me put up Cindy's gorgeous one here. Cindy did a more daytime approach, which I think is a really neat contrast between my dark night sky page and Cindy's really gorgeous page. I really like the contrast between our two pages. So super fun to have two different approaches. It's always wonderful buddying with Cindy and getting more done in Mythographic. Let me just put my hair tie back around the book to keep it together. And then let's talk stats because it's been an incredible month. So, as you can see by what I just put in front of you, I ended up completing 25 pages in the month of August. I was really surprised when I totaled that up. I was not expecting 24 pages. Helps if you read the right line. 7 of which were double page spreads as well. So, that's a good month. So, yeah, 24 pages. Now, of those 24 pages, 18 of them were existing work in progress pages. And oh my God, to get that amount done, so good. I cannot believe I smashed 18 whips this month. I knew it would be a lot to get all 25 done, but I got 18 of them done. Now, you may be looking at the fact that I finished 18, which leaves the 6. I've put new whip total, but it's actually just, they're not new whips. The new whip total, the current existing work in progress pages I have is 6. Now, you may be looking at 18 and 6 and go, hang on, that doesn't equal 25. That equals 24. It's because I also did decide to unhaul one of the books that I've been talking about unhauling. So one whip just got essentially discarded. But yeah, from my original work in progress list that I have. I now only have 6 whips remaining. So from Alien Worlds, we have the crystal overview page. From, oh my goodness, sorry, my keyboard's in the way here. Layla Julie's Walk in the Woods. I never managed to get to the Lily's page. I would like to get this one done because this is an untouched book currently, so that one is a high priority to finish off eventually. From Kingdom of Curious Creatures by Koniko Agusa. I never managed to get to the Christmas page. That's quite alright. I will aim for that one in December to get that one finished off. From Mythographic Imagine. I never got to the Robot Girl, so that one's still got to be done at some point. I had been planning to get to the Creatures of the Night special and film a tutorial about how I do marble stonework. I did not get to this month. I was so sick. So, yeah, I'm thinking I might try and aim for this one in October. Feels like it could be a good Halloween page. And then the last whip I have, I did do a lot of work on this one. I just didn't get it finished. Naoko Neko, Story of Precious Cats, the Rainbow Candy Village. This was our stream page. I have entirely based it, but I have not managed to do any of the pencil shading on top. However, this one is in my plans for September. So I got one that I will complete in September. One book that I'll try to complete in October. I'll try and do a couple of the other whips in November, and then one of them is a Christmas one to be done in December. So all going well, we might get this list down to 0 by the end of the year, which would be absolutely incredible. Getting it down to 6 is still amazing. My goal this year, I started the year with 23 work in progress pages. That was after last year working my butt off to get it down from 55. My goal by the end of the year was to have this to single figures. And it had managed to creep up to 25. So getting that work in progress list down to 6, so happy. And the whole reason I did this month, because I feel so much lighter having cleared off not only a lot of the existing work in progress pages, but getting it down to what is essentially my goal. So as long as I don't create any new ones and I can slowly work my way through these, it will be fantastic. Now, the other thing I did in August was I actually did a book order as part of my live streams because I wasn't feeling well. I had a couple of streams that I wanted to do things a little lighter. So I ended up going through my entire book collection, updating, creating a new tracking list digitally, just making sure I had all the books in my collection actually written down correctly. I actually had my total of books that I own. Turned out I had miscounted by 2 from my original total, which used to be 260, so it was actually technically 258. I'd miscounted. But then on top of that, I went through, I unhauled some books, and I just sort of cleaned up my collection tracking, which again also helped me feel less overwhelmed. But because of that, my new total of books in my collection is 226. This is with me unhauling 12 books and also removing out the posters from my tracked books collection. I still have them tracked, but they're no longer counting towards my book total. I've also pulled out any digital coloring books that I own but have not currently printed, because printing is very difficult for me to get to the print shop. So while I own the books, I haven't got them digitally printed. So until they get digitally printed, they do not count towards my total book collection. So that has brought my total down quite a bit. Which has meant that we've had a significant increase in the worked versus unworked goal as well. So with working in all my whips, I did manage to technically work in 10 untouched books because there was a lot of whips and books that hadn't had a completed page. So still managed to work in 10 untouched books from the 24 pages that I did. And of that now, that means that I have worked in 153 of the books in my collection, which brings our total up to 67.7% of my collection worked, which is a jump from 58.1. Now, again, I've got less books in the collection now, so it's had quite a significant jump this month because of that as well. Which means I have 73 books in my collection left to work, or the 32.3% of my collection to work. So we're on track for the 75% of my shelf worked by the end of the year. And because I average about 20 pages a month, if I have 3 months of doing 20 pages and each of them is a new untouched book, I could be through my entire collection by the end of the year. Like, it'll be a push, but this is an achievable goal. So I'm also very excited by that. It's been a good month of things coming together, achieving our goals, making the load simpler with the auditing, the tracking, the cleaning up of spreadsheets. Like, everything has just, despite being sick, despite not being able to stream for 2 weeks, it feels quite manageable and it feels quite exciting to be heading towards the end of the year with so close to those goals in hand. So yeah, I'm very, very excited. I hope you've enjoyed this very long video of all my completed pages. My completed pages videos are always long. I tend to ramble. My throat is now very, very sore, so I'm going to continue to drink my cup of tea. I might need to put some more water in there now. My lukewarm cup of tea. And get this video edited and up so you all can see it. I can't wait to see all your completed pages if you are someone who posts on here or shares on Instagram. Even if you don't, I really appreciate you being here and watching this video. If you'd be so kind as to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already, hitting that subscribe button. We hit over 3,000 subscribers this month as well, which so cool. It slipped by in the middle of me being sick. So thank you so much for 3K as well. That's huge. Yeah, I am still a little under the weather, but I am getting better. I am getting out of the winter sads. I'm looking forward to actually filming some specific content for YouTube, not just like completed pages videos and plans videos. I want to get back to actually doing some tutorials and some actual content. We will, of course, continue on with the live streams. I live stream 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, 10 a.m. New Zealand time. I hope that you'll come and join us. It's a really fun time. I really enjoy it. It's my favorite content to make is live streams. And yeah, I just really appreciate you being here, watching this whole rambly video. Much aroha or love to you all. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!